Hey guys, just going to do a quick video. I just replied to this message, but I'm actually going to do a video just to expand on it. Basically, just to paraphrase, the girl was asking that I'm always talking about carbs after training because of insulin sensitive times. And she was asking what happens if you train in the evening. You know, if you train at 9 p.m., should you still have carbs, post workout? Because, you shouldn't have carbs after 6 p.m. or whatever it is. And this is basically what I told her, so I'm just going to expand on it now. There's this rule and this misconception that people are like, don't have any carbohydrates after 6 p.m. And that's all well and good, but I hate, anyone that's been following me long enough knows that I absolutely hate when people put general rules on things when there's no context given. The reality is, no carbs after 6 p.m. and that works well and fine, and I understand the principles of it. It's generally, that rule was invented because people were eating shit food and eating biscuits and cakes and things like that. So it's like, right, no carbs, just cut the carbs. It makes it easier to follow it. But the reality is your body doesn't know what time of the day it is, particularly if you train in the evening. The exact point I gave her was your body has insulin sensitive times. It's always first thing in the morning. It's normally in fasted states. So assuming you're training hard enough and tapping into glycogen stores and depleting through, your body's going to be really, really insulin sensitive post-workout. You're going to be able to handle those carbs and do things like nutrient partitioning, which is basically where your body makes the most use out of its nutrients that it takes in, is at its absolute optimal time post-workout. So carbs get shuttled into glycogen stores, your amino acids get shuttled into the muscle cells. All these things are very heightened when you're in your post-workout state because your body's really insulin sensitive. The same thing happens in the morning, but it's even more so post-workout. So if you're training at 9 p.m, it doesn't matter if you have your carbs, at 10 p.m, you're still insulin sensitive at that time. Your body still needs those carbohydrates to repair. Just because it's after 6 p.m. and you've cut your carbs, that's no reason to not include them. Now, that being said, if you're on like a keto or a low carb style diet, you might not have those carbs post workout. And there's also an argument, I've read studies and I put this into practice and it does work. If you cut your carbs from that post workout meal, your body's better at utilizing its fat stores, after the workout because of the increase in metabolism from your training. So there's an argument for not including your carbs here. I've used it and I felt leaner. It's actually nothing to do with body fat because I actually measured my body fat and it didn't drop at all. But what happens is when you cook carbs in that post-workout meal, carbohydrates pull water underneath the muscle, and that's why you can get a little bit of a swell when you have your carbs, post-workout or any time of the day, because when you drink water, then it pulls it in underneath the muscle, so it swells you up a small. But similar to what creatine does, carbohydrate does this in like a mad fashion, where literally, your muscle is made up of like so much carbohydrate and glycogen and water that if you fill that out, of course you're going to feel a little bit more swole. So actually dropping out those carbs in the post-workout meal doesn't really help with body fat in any way, but it might make you feel skinnier or leaner because you're not pulling as much water underneath the cell. In terms of body fat, I actually didn't know that on myself. I didn't notice any change when I actually took my calipers. When I've got the proper, the high-end calipers that are within, a percentage or two on and off. And I noticed no change in it. But that being said, I did feel leaner because I didn't have any of the carbohydrate pulled in. So your body doesn't have a clue what time it is. So if you're training in the evening, that doesn't mean you can't have your carbs post-workout. Your body doesn't know what time of day it is. There's these general rules thrown around and there's no context given to them. No carbs after 6. I don't know what other fucking stupid ones there. Stay away from this food, or too much protein is bad for your kidneys, which technically is true because too much protein puts a lot of stress in the kidneys and things like that. But it's within context to each person. Creatine is bad for you. These supplement and nutrition misconceptions that have no context. Creatine is bad if you take too much of it. If you take too much water, you can overhydrate your brain and kill yourself. You take too much of anything, it's going to be harmful. Creatine is not going to harm your kidneys unless you have a predisposition to kidney issues. The same way as carbohydrates aren't going to make you fat after 6 p.m. just because you had them after 6 p.m. Your body doesn't have a clue what time of day it is. There's no idea of time. It understands I'm insulin sensitive now. I'm not insulin sensitive now. I need my food for energy at this level. That's what your body understands. It doesn't know the difference between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So if you're training in the evening and you're worried about having your carbs because you shouldn't have them after 6, have them. You know, it's not going to make a bit of difference to you, and it's probably going to help your goals because it's going to recover you quicker, it's going to stabilize your blood sugars again, and it's going to allow you to stay on diet. What normally happens with people if they cut their carbs in that post-workout meal is later on in the evening or the next day, they binge like crazy because their blood sugars haven't fully stabilized. You know, unless you have really, really strong willpower or really naturally stable blood sugars from being a somatotype that works well on fats, you're better to have those carbs in that post-workout meal and at least keep everything stable. You know, it's so funny. I had a client once who I remember freaked out before because she went over 50 grams on her sweet potato, but she didn't factor in the fact that she had half a thing of biscuits earlier on in the day. So again, it's because when you mistime things and don't take control of it, that's when you can go off track. So again, if you go over a small bit on your carbs, don't worry about that, particularly at the time of the day. But what can happen is if you miss that, the next day you can binge because your blood sugars and stuff haven't fully stabilized. Or if you're in that deficit where those carbohydrates and fiber would have kept you satisfied and full and you'd have got a mild serotonin release from them, you didn't get that kick going into the evening or going into the next day. So that'll lead you to reach towards bingey foods. So hope this video helps. Please like and share the page and comment down below. I'll be replying for the next 24 hours if you guys have any questions.